Everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international award-winning author Me and Zia Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2 by Me and Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, now on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner, and the Sensei Swing Eric Diamond with his latest All of Me and new music coming soon, ericdiamondmusic.com. We're here with a terrific lady who's an author and a prolific novelist embarking on another significant career phase. We'll talk more about that. She was born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, and attended University of Texas in the honors program, dropped out to enter the antiques business, entered a Discalcid Carmelite convent in Texas, left the convent 20 years ago, and to get a BA in classic and Near Eastern archaeology, and accomplished archaeologist and teacher for 25 years and a nun for 2 decades, and has 3 historical fiction series unraveling mysteries of life during the ancient Egyptian Empire. And this is basically what we're called a journey of a nun-turned-archaeologist journey into ancient Egypt with 3 amazing books. Live, ladies and gentlemen, the Plus Studio somewhere in France. It's so hard to get a hold of, but she's traveled around the world, author, prolific novelist, embarking on another significant career change, 3 books. We got the amazing N.L. Holmes. N.L., good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Look forward to it.
What's great to have you on board, too, is you're an author, prolific novelist, embarking on another significant career phase. You were born and raised in Fort Worth, Texas, attended the University of Texas in the honors program, dropped out to enter antiques business, entered into a convent in Texas. You left there 20 years ago to get a BA in classical and Near Eastern archaeology. You're an accomplished archaeologist and teacher for 25 years, nun for 2 decades, and you have 3 historical fictional series, Unraveling Mysteries of Egypt, which is the Lord Hani Mysteries, the Empire at Twilight series, and Hani's Daughters Mysteries. For getting all that, tell us how you first got started.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your question.
No, come on through. Tell us how you first got started.
Okay. Well, I didn't start writing until I retired from teaching. I was teaching at the University of South Florida. And in my class, I had a class called Ancient Near Eastern Empires. And one of the episodes that we talked about there using ancient documents was a divorce between the king of a little Syrian kingdom, a part of the Hittite Empire, and his wife, who was a Hittite princess. And there were 4 or 5 different ancient sources that referred to this case. And so I gave them to my students and said, this is what we know. Try to reconstruct what actually happened. And the results were so fanciful, if we can put it that way, that I realized, you can't even talk about this as a historiographer, but it's just gold for a novelist. So as soon as I started having a little more time, I set into it, and that was my first book.
Oh, wow. Okay. Was it one exact precise moment that simply influenced you into what you do in the rest of your career?
Yeah.
Okay. Or that exact moment you simply say, this is it.
No, I actually, writing was something that was very much a part of my growing up. My father wrote short stories, and my mother loved to read, and my aunt was the book editor of the local paper. So my cousin and I would sit around on rainy days and write novels, and it was just it seemed like a very natural progression, not something strange or really a change of direction. Even it's just I thought all the history that I've learned throughout my academic career is crying to turn into a fictional story here somehow. And all of these people that are just names on an ancient tablet, they were human beings, and they too had a story. So it didn't seem like a strange or a divergent sort of thing to do. It was just like continue the same trajectory.
Mm-hmm. And certainly as well, too. And who are some of your favorite authors, writers, and books growing up?
Wow, people ask me this all the time, and I think I give a different answer every time.
It's okay. It's good. So
I like 19th century novels. actually, and they're the ones that have stuck in my mind. I read a lot of modern ones, of course. They kind of come and go, but I have to say that Zola's Germinal is one of my very favorites. It's a story of a terrible conditions in a coal mine, and the miners go on strike, and it doesn't turn out well. And it's just the images are so powerful that I mean they're almost nightmare inducing, even after all the years since I've read it. So I think that was a very successful piece of work on Zola's part.
That certainly is as well too. You also got some books into mysteries as well too. Make your name of it. We jump into the world of a nun-turned-archaeologist journey into ancient Egypt with 3 books with N.L. Holmes. We'll go that journey in just a minute. But first, to listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, time to give official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon, paperback, and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those who love me to first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has got great reviews, and Eva Levin enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today. 4 Girls Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2 by Mia Molson-Zia, double the suspense, double the fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite paintings and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives a new perspective of David through Psalms he wrote, and as the time of ship where it started, and it's complicated yet turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out the Sweet Psalmist on Amazon by Serena Wagner. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner. Make sure you check it out. Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner. Also brought to you by Sensei Swing. Eric Diamond's release All of Me, featuring the title track, I've Got a Heartache, Bring Me Sunshine, and more. Eric's a multi-award winning artist, including numerous Hall of Fames, Entertainer Album of the Year. He'll be releasing a new CD soon. Check out Eric Diamond today at ericdiamondmusic.com. Follow on Facebook, YouTube, and all platforms worldwide. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, 40 podcast platforms, heard in 100 countries. Take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Great books, merchandise, and more. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show on Spotify, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple, and follow on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. We're here with the amazing author, prolific novelist, N.L. Holmes here on the Mike Wagner Show. And before we get to your books, the Lord Hani Mysteries, the Empire at Twilight series, and Hani's Daughter's Mystery. And, tell us about your journey going from Fort Worth, Texas, attending an honors program, entering antiques business, going into a convent, and then going into archaeology. It's like this journey is rather interesting.
Well, and that's only a few of my careers over the years.
Well, that's good. A man of us are like that these days.
No, I started out interested in archaeology from childhood, and I somehow got off track. At the university, I was in the honors program, as you said, which was a major. So although I took as many archaeology classes as I could, I didn't really know what field I wanted to go into, what culture I wanted to specialize in. And so I just did sort of basic anthropological archaeology. But this was the 60s, and it was, we were all, looking for meaning in our lives and something to give ourselves to, a cause. I had friends who entered ashrams and what have you. And being Catholic, the convent was a radical choice for me, but something that was comprehensible. And there happened to be a Carmelite monastery in my town, so that's where I entered. I was there for 20 years, and then I left, sort of, well, I felt that the way things were going, I was going to be elected prioress, which was the the chief of the nuns there.
Hmm.
And I had sort of gotten disenchanted with some of the things about the life and wasn't sure that I could, in conscience, lead the group, not being myself convinced or convicted of it. So I left and immediately went back into academia. I went back to school, finished my degree, went on for my PhD, and picked up the archaeology again. I had briefly been an antiques dealer after I left college, something that my whole family was interested in.
Okay.
And you can kind of see a pattern here. I love old things, objects, and the human lives they drag along with them and our memories. So, um, as a graduate student, I discovered that I loved to teach, and that was something I didn't really know until that point.
Hmm.
So then I went into teaching, and doing field work as one does. On and off, I had other jobs. Just it's not easy to find positions as an archaeologist. So
Right.
I was
Yeah. Hmm.
I was an interior decorator for a while and did other things, artwork and stuff.
Okay.
And
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep
oh no,
going.
that's all right. I was just saying that's what I did then until I retired, and then I started writing.
Hmm. And what was it one moment that got you into writing, the precise moment for you?
Yeah, it was that moment in class when I realized that there's more fiction than history embedded in some of these tales that you were briefly exposed to by ancient documents. So then I started thinking about all the historical events, the treaties, the battles, the collisions of cultures and fall of worlds and things, and what that would have meant in human terms. So for example, my Empire at Twilight series it's set in one part or another of the Hittite Empire, but it covers the last couple of generations of this culture before it collapses completely. So, what was it like to live in a dying civilization? How did that impact people's lives, both the people who ruled the country and just ordinary citizens around the edge of things? So that was that inspiration. And the Hani mysteries, although there are murder mysteries in each book, it basically looks at the period between the rise to power of Akhenaten, the so-called heretic pharaoh, and his reforms or whatever you want to call them, religious and social reforms, and his fall from power, his death, and the rise of his son, Tutankhamun. So there's a kind of real historical trajectory which forms a plot in that book, that series too.
Okay. I also thought about it as well too with the mysteries as well too. You talk about the political, the cultural and everything. And how does that currently tie into today's society here?
Well, the Hani mysteries in particular, which was more political than the current cozy mystery series, is it was amazing. I was writing this during COVID, for example, some of the books, and sure enough, there was a plague taking place in ancient Egypt at this moment, and the kind of subplot was, what does a government employee do, a man of principle and conscience, when he finds himself working for a corrupt government, a government whose ideology doesn't agree with his? Hani's family they were worshippers of Amun Ra, as most of the people of Thebes were, and then Akhenaten comes and overthrows that completely and institutes the worship of the Aten, which was sort of another view of the sun god. And it was a very autocratic government. Very everything changed socially. He abolished the priesthood of Amun Ra, which just trashed the economy. With these people employed tens of thousands of lay people and priests. And so it was extremely disruptive, and it must have created a lot of resentment. And so you get this tension for Hani and his family between their sort of immemorial beliefs and what the man he's sworn to serve, the king, is making him represent. So that was very relevant too, I think. And the way you treat your allies, the sort of ins and outs of domestic politics. It was I didn't set out to make it a commentary on modern society, but I couldn't help be struck as I wrote how many of these things never seem to go away. They just recycle.
Hmm. It also made me think of the whole thing with the whole upheaval and everything else, like with you know, King Akhenaten and King King Tut and everything like that. Made me think of the Pharaoh too, which was like, you know, real similar as well too. That he tries to rise to power and he tries to rule an iron fist, and decisions he made pretty much all backfired.
Yeah, well, it did. It backfired so thoroughly that the minute he died, the waters just closed right back over him. I mean, there must have been a terrific pushback. Of course, he was a complete autocrat. Nobody could say no to him while he was alive. But once he was dead, all of his changes were changed back. His new capital was completely razed to the ground. He was cut out of the history so that it was as if he never existed. We didn't even know the man was one of the kings until archaeology turned up, the remains of his ancient capital. So it I guess there's some lessons in there someplace.
Mhm. You also managed to dig up some remains and everything else. What are some more interesting remains you dug in Egypt and along the way? You hear
I
about
have
this,
never
hear about that.
yeah, I've never excavated in Egypt. I've worked with some Egyptian material, but I've excavated in Crete and also in Israel. I guess the most interesting thing I've ever uh, come across, not me personally, but the team, was in Crete. It was the Minoan civilization, an interesting Bronze Age civilization. We found a pot, a good sized jar that had broken into about 250 pieces.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness.
yeah, this is typical, I'm afraid. So when the conservator put it back together, we could see that there were handprints all over this jar, and like as if someone had taken a small stubby hand, dipped them in black, and just printed it all over the jar. And you didn't know if it was meant to be decoration or if it was some kid got into dad's pottery shop and messed things up. But what was interesting was they were so distinctively some particular person's hand. You could even see fingerprints in some places, and it was so personal, so unique. You just felt like here's this child or small adult who is reaching up from the past and saying, "Don't forget me." It was very moving somehow.
Oh wow! Of course, I think about that pot as well with the fingerprints, and that makes me look at something in the jar, or could it be cookies? Could it be money or something like that? I kind of thought of it. It's like, hey, what's in this jar? And on the verge of sticking a hand there. Next thing you know, it breaks. So
Yeah, it's must have been cookies.
well, I'm sure those cookies would have tasted good in Greece as well. And I thought about, you're able to do your digs in Greece and Israel and all that. If you were to, dig in Egypt, do you have to follow any certain protocol, or is it just like would be a normal dig like you did in Greece and Israel and other places?
Well, there are pretty rigid protocols everywhere now. The gone are the days when any amateur could go over there and start digging and cart away whatever they found. It's now you're working close collaboration with the local archaeological service, for example, who control very carefully who gets a permit to dig and who doesn't. In Greece, I know it's through the American School of Archaeology there in Athens. The Greek government gives them so many permissions a year to dig. And often these go to the same group over and over to carry out a dig. For example, the group I was with was the University of Toronto, and they dug on this site for 25 years, I guess.
Oh wow, okay.
Uh, yeah, so it's important to kind of carry through enough to get come to some real knowledge of the place, but you never dig a complete site. You always leave something for future generations who may want to come back with better technology and they
Hmm.
can find more.
Right.
So I know that it's the same in Egypt. It's very carefully controlled through the National Archaeological Service.
Okay. And how about some of the other countries that you have dug in as well too, or some other countries you would like to dig for artifacts?
Well, I've dug also in Israel, and at that location, I was with Duke University, and we were digging in a national park where there were several other teams from different schools also digging in different parts of it. It was a city, a Greek settlement from shortly after Alexander the Great, a Hellenistic city. This, of course, was Galilee of the Gentiles, so it's you had Greeks and Jews living side by side, and that was our particular mission was to look at any, if there were any, differences in the lifestyles of the Greeks and the Jews. So an urban site. We had a subsidiary site which was a Canaanite village not far from there. But here again, it was a university that was working in collaboration with local archaeologists. So again, closely watched, closely regulated, and had to observe. You have to employ a certain percentage of local people, for example. That was true also in Greece.
Hmm. And what about getting some of the profits and some of the sharing and everything like that? Are they allowed
Uh,
to sell for profits? Do they have to give back to
no,
government?
no,
Okay.
absolutely not. For one thing, most of what you find is not of any commercial value. There isn't much gold that people come across in places like this. It's mostly pottery and things like that, architecture. So this is all anything portable is stored, in our case, in Jerusalem, in the Albright Institute, which is the archaeological center there. And it's studied. It's kept carefully cataloged so that future generations or graduate students or whoever can study the pieces and understand the context. All your records, your find records and things are kept so that every piece is carefully recorded. And it's anything important is never thrown away. Now, something especially beautiful may be sent to a museum, a local museum. Mostly nowadays, things don't leave the country of their origin. In previous generations, of course, the Europeans would go to the Near East or someplace and cart away what they found, even great big giant architectural pieces. But that's no longer true. It's generally displayed in the country of origin. Occasionally, there may be agreements between, say, a museum, the Metropolitan, let's say, or the Harvard Museum, and that country, so that they can take a piece and display it. But it's understood that it belongs to the country from which it came. And it's all about recording the find spots. That's what's important to archaeologists is to know exactly where it came from, what level it's from, so what time it's from, what it was found associated with. More than the object itself is the importance of the context. So, as I say, the days of the amateur archaeologists swooping in and scooping up pretty things and going off with them is long gone, and we're glad.
And why you say it's excuse me, why you say it's glad?
Well, you have so many objects now, Greek vases and Assyrian things, and there is no record of where they were found. They were probably things that local people, farmers or something, dug up by accident in their fields and they sold it and it got sent to a museum and nobody knows where it came from. And it's useless as archaeological information that way. I mean, the way archaeologists view these objects that you see in a museum is not just pretty things, not just works of art, but a clue to a big puzzle, which is the culture and the history and the lives of people in the past. So take away the context, and they're really not very useful, although they may be beautiful to look at.
And certainly beautiful Dean as well too. There's also parts of it in the Lord Hani Daughter's Mysteries as well too, and the other miniseries with N.L. Holmes. I'll get that in just 1 minute. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Wilson's The Missing, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, now on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner, and the Sensei Swing Eric Diamond with all of me, all on ericdiamondmusic.com. We'll be back with author N.L. Holmes of the Lauren Hyman Mysteries and more after this time. We're back with author N.L. Holmes here on the Mike Wagner Show. We'll continue our nun-turned-archaeologist journey into the ancient Egypt as well. And I thought about with some of the things you talked about with digging up and everything. Some sell for profit, some sell for this and everything. And there's also one of them as well too in the book, which is Wheel of Evil. Get into a get rich quick scheme and just getting some from money and dig up all kinds of things. So yeah, there's like some attempt at political or capital gains involved.
Well, I'm afraid that greed is as old as the human race. So even though the Egyptians did not have money, that is something that was, a token that had a certain value. They certainly had accumulated wealth, and they used what we call the debit, which was a big ring, either of bronze or silver or gold. That was just a kind of standard weight of metal that you know they used as an equivalent. But most of what they exchanged was barter. People sold their services or whatever they had on their farm in exchange for what they needed. But the lure of wealth in whatever form was, alive and well then as today. So in The Wheel of Evil, our heroine, Nefret, who is actually a physician and a kind of an amateur sleuth along with her partners, uh, gets involved in trying to help her uncle, who's an innocent man. We've seen him before in the Lord Honey mysteries. He gets sucked into a scheme whereby a group of people are invited to invest in a chariot making workshop, and then they will split the profits. But it turns out to be a little more sinister than just a business opportunity, because one by one, the people who try to pull out of the scheme die. And so
Oh.
she gets involved, hoping to keep her uncle from being one of those victims. And it turns out to have deeper ramifications than just personal greed there. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to give too much away.
Yeah, that's fine. Do you think that could be the start of the whole mafia or the start of a Ponzi scheme? As they would say in
Well,
business.
it was a kind of Ponzi scheme, I guess, in that new investors were expecting to look like the profit that was supposed to be coming out of it. But um, you might say the mafia. I mean, not the mafia, but I think we can be sure that there were criminal gangs in ancient world just as there are today. Uh, Policing was much less systematic, so there would have been people figuring out a way to milk the public of their wealth. And in fact, that's what Nefret discovers, that there is a kind of a gang involved here, a group of people that are extorting money. And actually, that's a premise of the fourth book as well. The Melody of Evil involves the underworld of ancient thieves there.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of that, you have the web of evil as well too, where basically a corpse washes up at the riverbank of Lord Honey's country house, and then you also get somebody try to identify it, but then they get in the web of murder, lies a heart of weavers and everything, and you also get you just dig for stuff, but then you also pay the price and get involved in their scheme, and there's like murder involved too.
Right. The fact that these young women are physicians means that people bring the injured to them, or they're expected to pronounce on the death of corpses that turn up, in this case, on her father's own property. So that gets them sucked into a crime sometimes. And this particular one, The Web of Evil, gives me an opportunity to talk about village life in ancient Egypt, because they find that the man is an inhabitant of the local village there near Hani's farm. So I've tried to make each book sort of focus on a particular profession. The first one, Flowers of Evil, talk about a florist who is an employee of the Temple of Amun-Ra. And so we get to see a little bit about how flowers are used. And the second one is, as you say, weavers. The third one is a chariot making workshop. Fourth is a family of musicians. So, I figure at this rate I can spin this series out for a long time and expose people to a little something about the culture that they may not have learned about.
And what are some of the other aspects of culture as well, too? We heard about King Tut, Pharaoh, and everything like that. And of course, we covered some of the financial and also some of the family. How about some of the other portions of culture in Egypt that we little know about?
Well, for one thing, because Neferet is a physician, she and her friends, we are constantly referring to medicine. Egyptian medicine was much better than anybody else's in their time, except maybe the Babylonians. But it was highly developed and kind of three-pronged. I mean, so you have the what we would call a scientific practitioner who was called a Sunu or Sunet in the feminine, and they had case books which had been developed over millennia, where doctors had observed symptoms and tried to work up treatments, and what they'd recorded what worked and what didn't. And so someone, say in the generation of Nefert, could look back at these books and see what had worked for her predecessors. And it was truly scientific in that regard. Much of it was herbal medicine, or some things are part of modern traditional medicine that do work to some extent. Other things seem pretty fanciful.
Mm-hmm.
But then they also had a healing priests. They viewed medicine as a, or some health problems as demonic possession. So they knew the prayers to expel these demons, and then there were magical practitioners who would relieve you of spells that had been put on you, and things like that. But in fact, often, say, a Sunu or a Sunet might employ all three of these methods of healing. And if you think about it, this kind of answers to what we think of as holistic medicine. So you treat the person's mind and soul as well as their body, and uh, faith healing can work for some people if they believe that they're in good hands and people are praying for them, and the idea that you know you're going to be all right now. I mean, it's kind of the placebo effect. So one assumes they must have had a pretty good record because they had an excellent reputation. And,
Okay.
and it's really, I always found when I was teaching my course on ancient Egypt that this was one of the aspects people found most interesting. So I thought, well, this would be fun to incorporate some of this knowledge, and some of it seems laughable by our standards, but considering they didn't know about germs, I think they did pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
They had
Well,
very sophisticated surgeries. Yeah.
I was just going to say that you talked about practically the first to discover holistic health and also, discover certain amount of things. Do you think when it comes to medicine or money, politics, or like say with some of the aspects in Egypt, do you think the ways and means they do things, you consider as far as just advanced as everybody? Are they further advanced, or maybe are they just standard? It's like how they compare to like the rest of the world.
Well, compared to almost everybody else of their times, they were extremely advanced. I mean, if you think
Okay.
about their architecture, something like the pyramids, the engineering is almost more than modern engineers can achieve with its accuracy. And their tools were very simple. It was all done with manpower, not not sophisticated machines. But they were meticulous craftsmen. Their jewelry is just beyond amazing. Uh, so,
And I see you have a special guest right here that wants to talk as well too.
yes.
Maybe introduce your special guest.
Well, he is an Egyptian goddess. they worshipped cats as the incarnation of
Oh,
various
that's right.
things.
I was going to mention about cats. I'm glad your four-legged friend decided walking. You remind
Yeah,
me about that. Yeah.
yeah. So the goddess Sekhmet, the healing goddess, sometimes took the form of a cat, sometimes a lion, and they also had the goddess Bastet, the goddess of sort of joy and motherhood. This guy's a male, but he's certainly full of joy.
And certainly look like it. Is he able to appear on camera right now for all the viewers out there, or is he
Oh yeah, yeah.
not ready? Okay. Hello. Hi. What's his name again?
This is Apollo.
Apollo. Hi, Apollo. How are you? Hi.
I'm
Can
showing
you
the
say
wrong end.
hello? Can you say hello? Can you say hello?
Oh, me.
Can you say hello? Oh, that's okay. I think he's trying to decide there. So yeah. Well, do make great healers, great inspiration, everything else. And lastly, what do you want the readers to learn from the series as well, too, especially with archaeology, the series and everything. What do you want the readers to learn from this?
Well, I think my goal as a novelist is the same as my goal as a teacher, and that is to make people convinced that the people of the past were, in fact, as human as we are, that they were completely understandable. They had the same emotional response to their world that we have to ours, and that they are not strange and distant and incomprehensible, but they
And
are us.
do you agree, Apollo? Do you agree?
We agree.
Do you agree? Yeah, that's got to be perfect indeed. Yeah, I think he agrees with that one. So, in the meantime, where
There's,
can we find all your works at?
well, they're available on Amazon and Kobo and Barnes and Noble and all the usual online stores, and also you can get them through my website www.nlholmes.com.
All right, well, certainly check that out. Where's author N.L. Holmes of the Lord Haney mysteries and also the Empires at Twilight and Hani's daughter's mysteries on the Mike Wagner show. We have a wonderful journey as a nun-turned-archaeologist, journey into the ancient Egypt, and we'll have you on for more about that. And by the way, what can we expect in 2025 and beyond?
Well, there should be another book coming out in the Nefrit series and this fall. And then I have in mind to write another sort of a prequel to the Lord Hani series because the Hani is a historical character and he shows up in the so-called Amarna letters, which is a set of documents, a diplomatic correspondence. And he occurs in a number of actual historical missions there, and there's one left that I haven't used. So got to work that one in somehow. And so that will be a book at some point.
All right, well, certainly check that out as well too. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Ooh, I don't know. That is a hard thing. Maybe my cousin. She and I we grew up together. We used to write novels together as children. But then she actually published several novels as an adult. And that kind of brought it home to me. By George, I can do this too. So thanks, Bonnie.
There you go. And by George, anybody can do it. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Well, to those who want to be writers, even if you're not trained, if you haven't studied creative writing, uh, read, read. That's how you learn how to write. And hire a professional editor and listen to them. That's like a course in creative writing if you listen to your editors, and you really improve your writing a lot that way. So listen to the man or the woman.
Definitely. I think that's a really good point. Once again, with author N.L. Holmes of the Lord Henny Mysteries, Empire, Twilight, and more on the Mike Wagner Show. Amazing journey as well, too. And a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Learned a lot. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Live have you back. And what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your books?
www.nlholmes.com, or my books are available anywhere online and probably in some brick and mortar stores as well.
All right, we'll certainly check that out. Once again, NL, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to having soon. Keep this up to date. Keep in touch. Glad to have you back. We wish you all the best. And NL, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thanks, same to you. Look forward to it.